Hi, guys. Welcome back to Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I am your host, Savannah. We are doing another episode of Bikini Girl Chit Chat where we're going to sit down with a fellow bikini girl and she's going to get to share her story. So, Miss Felicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, what are you doing right now? Are you off season prepping? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in my improvement season. I just wrapped up my season in November and it's December. I'm in my reverse diet currently.
Okay, perfect. So, you just got done competing for the first time ever.
Yes, I just did 3 shows this past season, first season in bodybuilding.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So 3 shows, 1 season. We'll definitely dive into this, but I want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me your age, tell me your name, tell me where you're from, and tell me what you do.
I'm Felicia Chang. I am 22 years old, just turned 22 in November. I'm a student at Texas State University and I'm actually majoring in musical theater. So, very much not anything fitness related at all.
Whoa. Okay. So what does that get like? What do you do? Are
That's
you behind the scenes? Are you singing? What are you doing?
I was singing, dancing, and acting. I actually did that my entire life growing up. I thought it was like the thing that I wanted to do, but I found fitness and I feel like I'm super in love with this instead of musical theater now.
Oh no. Okay. That's so funny because I had a similar journey where I did find fitness when I was like 20, 21-ish, and I was in business, whatever, and then was like, yeah, fitness. I like this. And
Uh,
once you get a taste of that show day, you'll
yeah,
know quickly. Obviously, you did 3 shows, so you must
yeah,
have loved it. Um,
love.
love, okay, great. And you did bikini division, right?
Yes,
And you did NPC.
yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. So where did this fitness journey start for you? Like when was the first time one you found out about bodybuilding and like when was the idea of I think I want to do a show? Where did that come up?
Yeah, so 2 summers ago, I stayed over at my friend's house during the summer, and her mom was actually preparing for a bodybuilding show. And I thought it was really interesting. I was super into fitness at that time. I had been like working out on and off for about 3 years, and I never was like super consistent in the gym, but her mom really inspired me. I was watching her journey through prep that entire summer and just asking her some questions about what her food was like, what her were like, and like how she was prepping for the show. And I thought it was really interesting, but I actually never thought anything about it. But this year, at the beginning of the year, around April or May, my roommate and I were actually scrolling through Instagram, just randomly came across a bodybuilder on our explore page. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I looked into it a little bit more and I was like, oh, there's many divisions for bodybuilding. I thought there was just one, and it was like you would just be huge. And I feel like for myself, I didn't necessarily want to look like that, but I saw the bikini division. I was like, oh, these girls look good. Like that would be maybe something I'd be interested in. So I started looking into it a little bit more. I listened to some bikini podcasts. I listened to Confessions of a Bikini Pro by Celeste Rains Turk, and I actually found my coach Lexi that way as well. So I was like,
Lex
oh,
Wait,
like I
Lexi
love,
Maitland?
yes, yeah, love
I
her.
love Lexi. Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of how I like found this sport and decided I was going to start a prep.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Obviously, I'm in the podcast world. I took a little break because whatever. But anyway, we're bringing the show back, which I'm glad that you reached out because you're like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, wait, you're a competitor. You're a new competitor. I love this. Come on to my show because
Yeah.
I listened to Miss Celeste Rainstart too a long time ago. And I was like, oh my God, it'd be a dream to be on her podcast. But I was an amateur. So I'm like, well, there's a lot of amateurs that have good stories. So I want to share your story. Plus, it's so funny because I know Lexi. I know Lexi really well. So it's such a small
Yeah.
little bodybuilding world. Now,
It
like you're in it, you're like, wait, I was like, I know them and this and that. Because once you're
yeah.
in it, it seems like, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a far away goal, especially when you look on the explore page somewhere. But I did the same thing. I found Olympians and I found pros first before I found
Yeah.
amateurs because those are what
Yeah.
pop up when you search bodybuilding. It's like, oh my gosh, they look so good. And they aren't huge. They're like, oh, they built that. And I would see their before and after pictures. I'm like, I look like their before pictures. Like I look like
Yeah.
that. And they did that. Like you're telling me that you can actually change. I just thought like people just were born with abs and like genetics, they just have to, they like do sports and they look like that. But then you're like, wait, you can build this. So that's
Mhm.
very, very cool that you found Instagram as like an inspo.
Yeah.
So we're scrolling through roommate. Did your roommate do it too?
No, she actually like I think she's into fitness, but like not bodybuilding specifically.
Got it. Okay, so you got the bug. The bug hit you, and you're like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go. So from scrolling, you found podcasts, got some information there, and then was it immediately that you found your coach, or like how did that step go? Like how did you find your coach? What was that process like? Like, did you come to
Yeah.
her saying that you wanted to compete, or did you start lifestyle?
I I just kind of looked into like bikini in general, like the entire division and just understanding the sport a little bit more. I feel like I kind of didn't know anything about it. I was just like, oh, these girls probably just like step on stage, like do all these things, but I didn't exactly know what it entailed to get on stage. I was like, oh, like I feel like I would like to be on stage. I feel like being a musical theater like performer, like the stage is kind of it's something that I'm familiar with. And I was like, oh, like I'm a performer too. But this is just very different. And I felt like it included two things that I liked a lot, which was fitness and performing in a way. So I was looking into a little into some coaches through Instagram. I was looking through different teams and I found Team Pro Physique, which is the team that I'm currently on. And I just submitted like my photos and some information and said that I wanted to do a bikini prep, and they set me up with Lexi. So I was like, oh, this is great. And I heard her on Celeste's podcast as well. So she was someone that I was familiar with.
Okay, so but okay, when you said like you want to do a bikini show, when did you get the idea? Because the
Mm,
looking on Instagram, saving the photos, ooh, ah, but like when did you get the idea of like, I think I could do this? Like, because at
mm,
first it's like, oh, I don't know if I could, but like, how did that happen? Like, I know you researched more, but what did you
mm.
like? What conversation did you have with yourself? Like, how did you know that you were ready to take the next step and do a bikini show?
Yeah. So I feel like, well, before I even started prep or like thought about starting prep, I never trained my upper body. I was always like, oh, it's gonna make me look like manly. Like that's not how I want to look like. But I feel like in the more recent years, I've been trying to take on a new approach of, oh, what could my body look like? I felt like I never had a specific goal, and I never had a specific goal that kept me consistent at the gym. And I had no idea what I wanted to look like. I was like, oh, I like the gym and I like the feeling after I get of working out, but I didn't necessarily feel like there was a goal. And for me, I felt like I wanted I think I'm a very, very goal driven person, and I do well with an end result in mind in that kind of sense. So I was looking into it a little bit more and talking to my roommate, talking to my boyfriend just about my fitness goals, because at that point I kind of knew that I didn't really exactly want to follow the career path of musical theater that I grew up doing. And I was like, oh, I want to do fitness and I want to see what opportunities there are here. So I was like, oh, maybe it will give me a bigger perspective as a personal trainer to do this. So I was like, okay, I think this will be a great learning experience. And that was when I was like, oh, maybe I can also transform my body into something that I didn't necessarily like know if this is for me. So
I
yeah, I
like
don't know
that.
if that necessarily,
Yes, that
yeah.
answers the question because it's different from because there's a certain moment when you're like, I think I can do it. Because it switches to inspiration to wait, I'm actually going to put this into practice. Let's see what I can do next. So
Yeah.
definitely not having a goal, it's then you kind of think, wait, if I had a goal, I would train harder, I'd look better. If I'm
Mm,
interested, I could test it out. Maybe I want to do this instead, especially in college when you have no idea what you want to do. And
yeah.
that's the time where you're kind of trying things out here and there. Like maybe I can make this into a career, but there's something fun, like test out all these hobbies. So then we started training for, we got a bikini coach. When was that you got the bikini coach? And how long did you work together before you competed?
So we started working together at the end of May. And when I first started working with her, we actually immediately started prep
Okay.
off the bat. Yeah.
Okay. So you just were like, let's do this immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, let's do this.
I love that. Because sometimes people aren't necessarily ready to, but sometimes you are. So that was end of May, and then you competed how, like 12, 16, 20 weeks later?
My first show was at the beginning of September or the middle of September.
Like 12 weeks, 16 weeks, something.
Yeah, something
16
like
week prep. Okay, that's what I mean. I remember doing something like that, like a 16-week prep for the first time. So now we're prepping, going hard on prepping, plus we're full-time student. Were you working at the time or just being student too?
I had like a part-time job at our school gym as a personal trainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is being a basically full-time student with job prepping? Was it stressful? Was it easy?
I felt like it actually gave me a sense of discipline that I actually never had had before. I didn't exactly know what prep entailed, but following like a very specific workout plan, eating very specific macros kind of actually was super beneficial for me. I never had that kind of structure in my life. And I felt like I just became a much more organized person. So even though it was difficult to start out and like begin with, I feel like it wasn't as difficult as I in I as I don't know if it was as difficult as I thought it was going to be, but I think it gave me that discipline to make it happen.
Okay, so before you jumped into prep and you saw, like, what did you think you were going to have to do versus what did it actually look like?
I think I didn't even think about what I needed to do. I was like, oh, I'll probably just like not eat a lot and get on stage.
Yeah, but instead, what did your prep look like? I know you kind of touched on it, but like, tell us about regiments. How much were you training? How much time were you in the gym? How are you making your food? Like, what were your macros?
Yeah. So I started the prep. I I didn't really track macros. I did track calories and protein just to like hit a specific number for that. And I was eating about 2,600 calories a day and I was 117 pounds. And so it immediately began to cut at the end of May. And because I had never tracked macros, I was actually eating way more carbs than I did before and a lot less fat than I did before. So we were just cutting carbs. That was really the only macro or at the end we cut a little bit of fat, but not a lot. But we mostly cut from my carbs. And um I had a 5 day split that Lexi gave me to go to the gym, mostly focused on shoulders and glutes. I needed to grow my upper body because I had never hit upper body basically before I started training with Lexi. So we went really hard on that at the gym and just having more glutes as well. I had only hit lower body before I started prep. So I felt like I had a good amount of at least quads. I don't know if I trained glutes a ton. I just had ginormous quads. But yeah, so it was like that. And then we slowly just cut the calorie or the carbs down. And once we got a little bit closer to show, we would move my workout split to 4 days a week. But I felt like that was still pretty manageable. And food wise, I would make everything myself. I didn't eat out really at all, maybe starting from 2 months out of my show. And something I really liked was actually ordering like bulk meat. I got some bulk meat from Hummus Fit, or my boyfriend got it for me, and it was super helpful. I just kind of like I did not really eat great stuff at like kind of leading up to my first show. I ate the same things every day, but I did not like the taste of it, and I don't know why I didn't just switch up some carb sources, but I just stuck with not great tasting food. But throughout the shows, as I kind of learned a little bit more about what tasted a little bit better to me and what digested well, I learned a lot about my body through that as well. I found a couple more things that I actually enjoyed eating a lot more. And I think I never got to a super low calorie point in my prep where I was like, this is literally unbearable. I mean, it definitely sucked. And I ate probably the least amount of food I had in a long time, but it wasn't terrible because I felt like Lexi really walked me through this entire prep process, and I was able to figure out what would work for me, like food wise, how to manage my energy levels at school, like having dance classes literally required for my major as well. And she was just super great about figuring out how my schedule and prep can conjoin together and come up with a very cohesive plan for me.
I like it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's every prep is different because everyone's activity level, stress level, like a student prep versus nurse prep versus stay-at-home mom prep, like everyone's is different. And you can find a very customizable approach to it as long as you have that good relationship and you're letting your coach know, like, hey, this is doable with my schedule, or this is not doable, or hey, I know this is weird. I'm going to be dancing and getting all this activity, and I know it's not ideal, but whatever. We're still going to make it fit and work. And just like balancing everything too with like food, it does help, I think, when you're in college doing prep because it's like you have to study, you have all your stuff, you have your exams. So you
Yeah.
do have to be super organized and it almost takes the thought process out of food. Like now I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to be tired. I'm not going to be hungover. I'm not going to be all these things that other students might be doing. You're like, well, my grades probably are going to improve because you have like, I only have this amount of time and I have to get in, an hour at the gym. I have to get my cardio done. You have to figure out where am I going to study? Where am I going to class? So you have to balance all those things. So it does push you in the discipline level. And like a lot of times, if you never played some type of sport or if you never trained before or tracked your food, it is kind of crazy when you like learn how to do it, how easy it is. Like it's not, it's hard in certain times. Like when you're hungry, yes, it's hard, but it's really not that hard after you get into the habit of it for a little while. It's like it feels like it builds that momentum. Plus the first show, it's really exciting. So tell us about posing. How was posing for you with the dance-ish background? Was it easy? Was it hard?
Yeah. I felt like I had a couple of sessions with Lexi and just like figuring out the routine. I actually didn't even know previously, like when I hadn't started prep, I didn't even know there was a routine that I had to do. That I just went on stage and I hit the front and back pose and called it a day. So we learned that routine. I think it went really well, just like kind of figuring out the transitions in between the poses and practicing a lot on my free time as well. On my off days, I would go to the gym and practice a little bit just in my posing heels, but still in shorts and like a sport bra because our school probably does not want me in a posing suit. But the posing went really well. And I think I improved my posing show to show as well. Just looking back at the stage shots and being like, okay, like this needs work for sure.
Humbling. Yes. Okay. So tell us, let's not jump into that yet. So, first show experience, what show was it and how did you do first? Tell us that.
Yes. Okay. So my first show was a San Antonio extravaganza in September. And I did three classes. I did true novice, novice, and open. So I got second in my true novice class, third in novice, and fifth in open.
Okay. Fifth and open, third and novice. So, not actually qualified yet. How many
Yes.
girls were in your class? Do you
I
remember?
think in true I think I think I placed fifth out of six girls.
Okay. And were you happy with that?
Honestly, when I was on stage, I was a bit disappointed. I don't know. I feel like I didn't expect anything, but I feel like I was telling Lexi actually recently, like bodybuilding has been one of the only things in my life that has really not come easy to me. And because I feel like my entire life has been super, like I was always a big fish in a small pond in everything that I did. But so when I placed fifth in my open class, I was like, wow, I am truly not the best at something. I felt like, yeah, it was very humbling for me. And
Yeah.
it really drove me to work a lot harder. And I feel like I couldn't expect a ton either, just because I had never trained like that. I never had this strict workout regimen. I had never eaten like according to macros. And I was disappointed in the moment when they switched me to the into the end of like the line. But after the show, I felt honestly very grateful to have that moment in my life. My family was there, my boyfriend, my family's from California, and they flew out to Texas where I go to school to watch the show. And my friend came and my friends came, my roommate came, and my friend's mom that did bodybuilding also came as well. So I felt very supported by the people around me, and they made me feel like they made me feel like my hard work paid off, even though I didn't necessarily get the placings that I wanted. So I was very grateful that they were there, and I felt like them being there and having their support, I was really happy with that result.
Good. Okay, you have a good head on your shoulders because it is hard when you start. I'm very similar. It was like straight A student, got into college. It's not hard. Sports were easy. So doing bodybuilding, it was a different test, especially when you start not performing well. Like, how am I not getting an A plus on
Yeah.
all this work that I just did? And it is very humbling because it's not an effort thing, which is
Yeah.
hard to accept because, the hardest worker in the room for bodybuilding, when it is subjective, sometimes genetics win because she just had more muscle or she was just a touch bit leaner and she
Yeah.
could have had an easy prep. I could have been, grinding out and it really doesn't matter if she just looked better. And you have to really just like detach yourself because if you made it to the end of a show, that's the reward. Like just
Mm-hmm.
doing the show, doing the prep, that is all part of it, but it's not natural, right? We want
Yeah.
the A plus, we want the trophy, we want the first, we want we want that
Yeah.
gratification at the end. And sometimes when we don't get it, it's like, what? This doesn't make sense. I work so hard. Can't you see I work so hard? But having those other things as your focus of gratitude, I have my support system. I learned a lot. The
Yeah.
discipline was good for me, like all of those things. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to take that fuel and I'm going to keep applying it. So that was September. We got
Yeah.
our placings, we got our first show, we had first show jitters out of the way. Was there
Yes.
any mistakes in that prep or that first show that were notable that you wanted to improve besides, posing?
I feel like up to then, my was not super low. So something that I wanted to kind of like push for was conditioning. I wanted to get leaner at these next shows and see if we could bring my shoulders up a little bit. I felt like I was lacking on stage shoulder wise. So I was like, okay, like I can pose a little bit better and just try to like not hide my weaknesses, but maybe camouflage them a little bit better. And also, I will say that after my first show, I had an intuitive day of eating and it did not go as planned. I thought, okay, I was going to do an intuitive eating day, but I wanted a little bit of literally everything. And I went to sleep and my stomach hurt so bad. And I was very, very full and bloated. And my stomach was very distended as well.
All right, let's jump into it. Every competitor ever on
Yeah.
earth does the same thing. I did
Yeah.
it 11 consecutive times before I learned a lesson. So after the show, you are hungry, you and you're hungry. Like everything tastes good. You're so depleted and tired, and you just, you've deprived yourself of fun foods for the last 4 to 6 months, sometimes longer. Then the show's over, the pressure's off, and we're gonna go out to eat. So tell us
Yes.
what you had. Tell us, break it down. What did you have?
I had actually I was gonna eat barbecue after the show and I had a very specific place that I wanted to eat and that place was closed. So I
Ah,
decided to go to another barbecue place and the barbecue was so disappointing, but I
ah,
still ate all of it. I
yeah.
got so much barbecue, ate all of it, and I just felt so sad. I was like, why did I eat that? I should have saved my stomach for something else. And my stomach hurt that night because it was very, very late after the show too. And then
Hmm.
I also got a McDonald's McFlurry, which did not help that case.
Yeah. It's hard because yes, you should have the meal out. Like have a meal out, but just like you're gonna know, you're gonna feel like crap if it's because you're eating so little, your stomach is tiny, and you're just so used to bland, bland, bland. So now we got extra sodium, extra fat, extra carbs, extra sugars, extra artificial this and that, butters
Yeah.
and oils, and then it's all like you're you're probably dehydrated from the show, you're exhausted, you're tired, all those things. And then you're like, where did my abs go? And it is, it needs time to digest and it's fine. But if you're listening to this for the first time, just remember, have your fun, but there is consequences. There
Yes.
is. There's very much
Many.
there's many. So after that, what happened? Did you decide to go back into prep? Were you doing a show quickly after? Like when was the next show from that show?
Yeah, so before I even did my first show, I talked to my coach about I wanted to do the Texas State amateur pro show in November. That was a show I had my eyes initially set on when I was even going to before I even started prep. Just because my school is also in San Marcos where the show was. I was like, oh, this will be very convenient. But we jumped into this first show because my coach was like, oh, let's just get our feet wet. Let's just see what the competition is about. And after doing this first show, I was like, okay, I'm so excited to do this Texas State show. Like, it's going to be really awesome. But I found that there was another NPC show, the San Antonio Classic, which ended up being my second show that I did. That was 6 weeks from, there was a 6 week period between my first show to the San Antonio Classic.
Okay,
That,
so how was
yeah,
that time? Did it go by fast or did it go by slow?
I think it went by the most excruciating slow 6 weeks of my life. I
Mhm.
feel like the like prep to my first show and prep to the second show was very different. My food was definitely a lot lower, and I think just the buildup of that fatigue mentally and physically really did not help my mental state. And I was very lethargic both physically and mentally all the time. I didn't really want to do anything but just go to the gym, eat my macros, get everything done, go to my classes. I just wanted to stay in my apartment and sit down and put my feet up and rest my legs.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
that was yeah, very, very tiring six
Do you
weeks for me.
regret it or do you wish it was sooner? If you could have gone back, like, do you wish that you would have done it like back to back? Like, what do you think?
I think it was good that I was able to get significantly leaner between my first and second show. I think that's what I needed to do. I think I would have probably I could have probably pushed harder before my first show and got and came in leaner into that first show and did a show a little bit sooner than 6 weeks, maybe like 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know if you're working hard enough
Yeah.
at your first prep because you feel like you
Yes.
are because it's your first time. So obviously, compared to not prep, when you're in prep, you're working harder. So you're like, oh my God, I'm working so hard. And then you get to the show and you're like, oh, that's lean. And you're like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, that is
Yeah.
lean. Oh, that's stage lean. Look at those glutes, look at the shoulders. And you don't really like realize it until you see your stage shots and you're like, I get it. You're like, hey, I get
Yes.
it. I thought I looked good because it's the best I've ever looked in my life, but I
Yes.
see what's happening. So it is humbling the first couple of experiences to be like, wait, I thought I had way more muscle than I did. I thought I was way leaner than I was. But giving
Yeah.
yourself that next show, especially in the first season, something that I wish I would have done because I did a show in May and then I didn't do a second show until December. So I gave
Mm.
myself like too long. It was good that I did it, but again, like close back to back within 2 to 6 weeks just to hit something while you're in that shape, or at least, kind of get your feet wet, get the nerves out of the way, and then keep pushing that conditioning, which as you get leaner, it gets harder to get leaner. Your
Yeah.
body does not want
Yeah.
to get lean. So, show number two, walk us through that experience.
Yeah, the show went a lot better, I would say, like than the first one. Actually, so I went there by myself, and I think not having everyone there as well was kind of good for me because it didn't put an external pressure on me to perform in that sense. I didn't have to live up to other people's expectations. And I didn't need to tell anyone like how nervous I was. I think keeping things to myself too also it doesn't exacerbate my feelings. Sometimes when I like tell people like how I'm feeling, it's like, oh my God, now we're talking about it. And this is a lot bigger than it actually was in the first place. So it's really nice coming into this second show. I did 3 divisions as well. I did juniors, novice, and open. And I was the only one in my junior category, so I got first. First is a first. And I got third in my novice class, which I placed the same in my first show, and I got fourth in open. So one step up from my first show. And I think there were I think there were multiple call outs for open or 2 call outs for open at this show. And I was extremely happy that I placed fourth. I was I literally stepped off stage and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got first call outs. I was very happy.
Yeah, the feeling knowing that you're in first call outs, like
Yeah.
you're just, even if you are on the sides or like not in the middle, like doesn't matter. Like I got first call outs. Like, yeah, that's a big deal. Like first call outs anywhere with how competitive the sport is this like these last couple of years, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to place at all. It's a big deal at all, and especially for first call out. So we improved. We had a good show experience this time.
Yes.
Post show, did we learn our lesson or was there more barbecue?
I did not learn my lesson. I went to Chipotle and McDonald's,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I my stomach was again extremely distended from I think the sodium of that Chipotle just did not do any good things for my stomach. And yeah, again with the McDonald's, don't know why I did that. It was just the icing on top of the cake. I overindulged a lot on that show
Yeah.
as well.
But did you plan on doing another show that year or were you thinking you were done?
I did. I actually had signed up for the Texas State show already,
Okay.
and it was 2 weeks. The second show was 2 weeks away from this Texas
Okay.
State.
And okay, so first off, did you get feedback from either show?
I got feedback from the second show.
Okay.
My feedback was to grow the glutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what do we do in 2 weeks' time?
We got leaner. Yeah, we got a lot leaner. We pushed a little bit more. Actually, it felt like this last push, it sucked, but I was like, okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is like this third show. I was like, okay, it's literally the last push. I can do anything for 2 weeks. I can do anything. So we pushed a lot harder into this last show. I felt really, really good coming to last show. For sure, I was a lot leaner. I felt like this was my best package of the season.
So what happened?
So I did 2 classes. I did open and novice, and I got second in both.
Wow, congrats. You're nationally qualified.
Yes, thank you. I was literally overjoyed. So
Yeah.
overjoyed. So happy.
So that was November or
Yes.
that was last month?
Yes, the beginning
Okay,
of.
so you're fresh into improvement season.
Yes, I am.
So after that show, what was feedback and what are you doing now to deliver on it? And when is your plans for next time?
Yeah. So actually I had not heard from the judges about feedback, but I feel like we know what I needed to improve, just kind of grow overall, but especially in the glutes. Um I want to come back next season really truly looking very, very different than I did this season. I want to look I do not want to come back looking the same. I think that would be not great. So I want to take substantial amount of time to grow everywhere. And then actually at my third show, I was talking to the overall winner for Bikini. I was like, "Oh, like how many shows have you done?" And she was like, "This is actually my second show ever." And I was like, "Wow, you look insane." And she was like, "I took 2 years off." And I was like, wow, I think that's very inspiring to me. I was like, feeling like it is okay to take time off and not have to compete, coming back and being super confident in the package that you bring. And she got her pro card this nationals too, I saw on her
Oh,
Instagram. So I want to come back and look very, very different, bring a completely different package, bring up the glutes, just bring up the muscle everywhere. And I, next season, I really want to get first in my open class or maybe win an overall. That would be really amazing. And also go to nationals and see where I am in comparison to the other girls.
that's it. I mean, that's the next steps. It's climbing the
Yeah.
ladder where you're at and just build and grow and grow and grow because every time you don't want to get the same feedback of, yeah, it's good and still need more.
Yeah.
There's it, so you have to really like, and you have to let go of lean. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's hard, especially that first show, because you look
Yeah.
so good and you think, I thought I could keep it. I thought that you just get lean and then you just have abs all the time. I literally thought that. So when I reversed, it was like, these abs are here to stay. I'm eating burgers and sushi. It don't matter. I have abs now. Because you're like, my goal's done. Like it's over. I made it. I have the body. I have it. And it just like that, the next day it's gone. It is so quick that you lose that conditioning. You do every time you evolve, like you have a little more muscle and you have a little less body
Mm-hmm.
fat. And then the next time have a little more muscle and a little less body fat, it's like a little bit of changes,
Yeah.
but fully taking the time to have the food to grow strategically, to work on the things, coming back fresh, get your calories in good spot, mentally get in a good spot. Now you have 3 shows under your belt. You have all that experience. You have the stage time. It's like, okay, now I just need to deliver on physique stuff. So it's like you have hair, makeup, glam, tan, all that posing. That's kind of like easy
Yeah.
controllables. Always can get improved, but just grinding in the gym and continuing that lifestyle now just with more food
Yeah.
without a specific date in mind, which is really exciting. And trying to get the first, get the overall, do nationals, which
Yeah.
it's another level of excitement. Like your first national show is a big deal because you just don't
Yeah.
know. Like there is a chance you could turn pro. Like you just have to kind of see how you stack up. So between what is this, 2025, do you think you'll be on stage in 2025 sometime, or you think you'll go to 2026?
I think maybe at the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. But I feel like I don't want to put a specific timeline just because I'm like, okay, like how much muscle will I be able to put on by I think I don't want to be like, oh, how much muscle can I put on by, I don't know, June or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to come back really looking strong and I want to be able to continue to have the same kind of discipline, obviously like having balance in this improvement season and putting more effort into the areas that maybe lacked a little bit because of prep, but just being able to continue and grind, and especially in the gym and following my macros the best I possibly can.
Yeah, it does make a difference. Like that reverse dieting, it's rough. And no one wants to reverse diet. It's like the show's over. I'm done. I am done dieting. I did it. And then you're like, wait, okay, I have to keep doing this forever and ever. And it's still, like, no matter what you're going to do, you're going to gain body fat. But if you follow your macros, like you just kind of do it slowly. And
Yeah,
yeah,
strategically.
strategically. Okay, so we're getting the close point of like the end of your journey. So long-term pro card is on the mind,
Yeah.
potentially working into the sport of bodybuilding.
Yeah, I would love to. I feel like I've been following like Lexi's YouTube and just listening to our team podcast, and I feel like she's someone that's very inspiring to me. Like she's very young, and she started also very young as well. I think just hearing her story and seeing how hard she works, and I feel like we're very similar in many ways. I also am like a homebody. I never really go out of a very tight circle of friends, and I think I have a really great support system around me to help me continue to follow the things that I'm very passionate about, which I'm very, very grateful for. But I would love to see what career paths I can get in the future, not knowing, like, I don't know specifically what I want to pursue, but I feel like finding bodybuilding is bringing me into the right direction, into something that I want to pursue.
I love
So I'm
it.
excited to like look into it a little bit more.
I love it. Okay, so advice to your younger self going back, any major regrets? What do you wish you would have known before doing this? Or maybe advice to new competitors thinking about getting into it? Give us all of your little tips.
Yeah, I think something that Lexi really stressed to me was don't come out of the process with any regrets. And that is something that I felt was very, very true. And I felt like my efforts really did match my expectations when it came to that. I felt like, yeah, having efforts that match your expectations is very important. Like putting in the work and doing the same things every day, following the plan. And I think like I heard this quote also on another podcast, but somebody said, don't remember who they are, but they said bodybuilding is a physical manifestation of what you're mentally capable of. So pushing past all of these roadblocks in your mind, I feel like is very like figuring it out, finding the solution, not coming up with a ton of excuses because you never own the success. You have to pay its rent every single day.
Oh,
So
geez,
yeah.
yes. Keep going. I love this.
Yeah. Rent is due every day and you're going to have to pay it, especially just having the consistency and discipline to do it every single day and finding how it can really bodybuilding can like finding a way to include bodybuilding and all the lifestyle that it is into your life. And I feel like bodybuilding is a choice. You choose it. And yeah, like you're gonna have to make some sort of sacrifice if you like it enough. And if you don't, then maybe don't do it. But yeah, I think it's just important to remember that this is a choice and you have to pay its dues.
Yeah. I love it. I love that so much. I've never heard that quote of the bodybuilding's a physical manifestation of how far like you can push your mind. Is that something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard it that way, but that's what I want to say. Like that's always how I felt. It's like you can't experience it till you've experienced it. And then after you
Yeah.
do it, you're just like because it's so mental, it's the only thing that I've ever found that like you can physically see the results of hard
Yeah.
work. Like
Yes.
you can see, oh my gosh, the decision not to go out, the decision to go to the gym when I was tired, do my cardio when I was tired, like all those little micro decisions, you physically can see it. Like the difference between one show the next, the focus is glutes, the focus was leaner, and you saw physical changes. Like sometimes at school or work, right? It's like you work really hard, you study really hard, and yeah, you get an A on the paper, but it's like you don't get to see it every day. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
long time away, but like you can wake up. I'm a pound leaner. My waist is smaller. My glutes are bigger. I have this new line. I have my placed higher. There's all these little places that are like little checkpoints. Like, yes, the hard work is working. Like it is working.
Yeah.
Like you can tell, oh my gosh, it is like we dropped the food and it is working. So I really like that a lot. And the saying it's like rent is due every single day. It's true. So true. It's like you in prep, like you can't slip. And if you are someone that's a slippery slope with it, like if you're gonna allow like bites off plan or you're not gonna follow, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
skip the training, you have to have the expectations. You can't get mad at yourself if you don't win, if you didn't do the things that were required of you. And you know if you weren't following your macros, you know if you weren't doing your intensity. And so having the your efforts match your expectations. Like if your goal is to win, then you need to make sure that that whole entire prep looks like a winter prep. And if it's
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
when you don't win, you can't be mad because you didn't do the things. So I love that so much. Like such great insight for us. Is there any other last minute tips that you wanted to share? If anything about your journey that we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure we did?
Um, I don't I don't think there's anything else for me.
Okay. All right. Well, last and final question. Cupcake or protein shake? What is your team? You got to pick.
I will pick a protein shake.
Okay. And then what flavor of protein shake?
Oh my gosh. I will choose a chocolate protein shake.
So basic. Is there a certain brand that you like? Is there?
um, any protein shake with the macros that I need, I will be very happy with.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, so if anyone wants to continue to follow your journey, where can they do so?
They can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Felicia C. Chang. FELICIACCHANG. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on the episode. I can't wait to
Thank
see your
you.
growing season and then your first national show. I'll definitely be following along.
Thank you. I'm very excited to continue bodybuilding.
I love it.